Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Hotel Dropouts. I'm joined by Jamie and Bernard. Today, we don't really have a topic. We're going to chat and see where it leads us. If you'd like to support us, you can just check us out on Patreon and leave a like and subscribe. I guess we wanted to start with this week. How did it go for you guys?
Benny,
Shall I
should you
start?
start? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been a rough week, if I'm to be honest. Like, not rough in terms of um, the week was bad, but rough in terms of it was very physically draining and morally, not moral as in like good or bad morals, but more like my morale is at quite a low point. And this is because we had to move our barracks due to an external factor. And there's nothing wrong in it per se. It's just a very tiring thing to do because you have to imagine you have all your gear, all your equipment, all your personal stuff that you have to move from one point to another, and it's just really, it's a lot of stuff and it's very tiring. And the worst part is the food, I would say. Like, we were lucky that we had really good food. Like, we had a really good kitchen that would make us really good food, and we really were able to enjoy it. um However, in the new place, it's like, you're back to square one. You're back to the shitty recruit school food, and that really sucks.
I'm kind of just jealous that the
um,
people prepare food for you.
yeah, that's one of the benefits of being in the army. You get food prepared for you.
There are
I
days
mean,
where
temporary. I'm not professional. I'm just in the army for now. Yeah.
You are a professional. It's your craft,
it's your
you could
No,
say.
profession.
it's not. I would say I'm more like a contractor. I'm just like part-time army guy.
Mm.
But at some point, I want to stop because, like, I,
Bernard's
I
gonna.
I want a more stable life. Like, in the army, you don't really have time for private life a lot.
Mm.
And my idea is that at some point, I wanna be able to be there for my partner.
Yeah.
Um, I wanna I wanna be more available as well. I don't like having no time and just not being able to do what I want to do at times. The
Hmm.
freedom, the freedom. I feel very restricted. There we go.
Bernard is fighting for our freedom, but doesn't feel freedom himself.
You sacrificed your
I
freedom.
mean, it's ironic, isn't it? If you think about it, the last line of democracy, freedom, is a very undemocratic institution, which is the army.
It is. It is.
I always thought the
In a
It's
last
way,
almost,
I
line of.
get what you mean.
yeah.
Huh. Well, in any case, there are people that work standard jobs, but it's just been so grueling in most industries nowadays where they still don't have enough time for their partners or their kids because they just have to work so much.
Mm,
But I guess if you're
that's
in
rough.
Europe, if you're in like yeah, like the only people that do get, these very timely breaks that are fully enforced by the labor laws, I would argue are the government workers. So if you work in the post office, they can't ask you to work overtime, can they? Or at least they'll fully
I
compensate you.
get. I think they can ask you.
Yeah.
Do you mean they can't force you?
Yeah, because I feel like private industries, private companies, they always have different kinds of leverage, to get you to do something. So you could work in a, like famously Japanese companies, for example, uh, the typical salaryman in Japan are kind of softly required to go out with their bosses after work, even though they don't want to, but they need to go out and drink with them and
Mm.
socialize.
I've,
It's a
I've
social
heard
norm,
about
you
that.
know. But whereas if you
Mm.
work in a school, if you work in a public school, there's no such thing, right? You're not you're not at the behest of these superiors.
Hmm.
You're hired by the government.
I
Yeah,
guess,
yeah.
yeah. I guess there's also more control factor in a government job where there's this like the balance of power, so to say, between the owner of the business, like because you're not the owner of the business, right? I mean, I'm sure there's always some factor of authority abuse,
Yeah.
but perhaps it's just how do I say less pervasive because there are, and I've experienced it as well, authority abuse going on. Well, usually because most of the times in our, unless you're like a really professional military, a lot of people don't get access to this sense of power, right? Like
Yeah.
authority power, and I've experienced people who I would say misabused their roles
Drunk with power.
Hmm.
because probably they lack this feeling of authority in their private lives. So the only way they are able to feel a sense of control or a sense of authority is to uh, quote unquote abuse it while they are in the military, where they actually have this power of authority.
Indeed. The ironically in Taiwan we had a very it was in the headlines. It was employee bullying and abuse basically. And ironic of all, it happened at the Department of Labor in an and the Department of Labor is trying to tackle workplace bullying, but they themselves are the one bullying their own freaking employees, where they would get them to do push-ups in front of people, and
What?
you'd yeah, as a punishment for something. And there were a lot of leaked recordings of our some of our labor office department leads, and these are like these are these women, they look so kind. That's the thing, right? Like these are women in their 40s. These officials, they look like a very nice lady, but then when you listen to the recording, they're like demons. It's kind of insane, the level of bullying, the level of shaming, and the level of it's so nasty. And really, these people, they something that really disgusts a lot of people in Taiwan is that these officials, they fail upwards. You have the scandal of bullying. All you do is resign, and then the next thing you know, in a couple of election cycle, you're now the lead of whichever other department again, right? And then this
Dang,
issue is never really addressed. Man, that's
that's
yeah.
some
Washed up.
bullshit.
Oh well. Should I talk about my week?
Yeah, yeah. I was
Yeah.
just going to ask.
I had a terrible accident. I had to replace
Oh no.
my phone battery because I was trying to do a front squat, and because I have always done the standard squat, right? Like the standard squat, and I can do uh yeah, I think I reached my goals of 1.5 times my body weight. So I can do a proper squat. But when it comes to front
Nice.
squat, I cannot bend my arms because I'm too fat. I have too much fatty tissue in it to bend my arms in this weird angle. So imagine you have a barbell, right? And you need to clamp it with your fingers, and then you need to rest it on your collarbone. And all the while, you need to make sure your elbow is out straight. So right, like so try doing that yourself.
Mm.
And it's a very tight position. So I dropped the whole thing and I smashed my smashed my phone. And
Whoa.
luckily it was just the battery case. The battery itself had to be replaced. I have
How? You
yeah,
mentioned the screen would break.
I have a Rhino Shield case. It's really good.
Wow.
The one time my quote unquote military grade phone case actually came into use. But
Dang.
yeah, I had that fixed, and then pretty crazy this week. Did you guys, hear about today? What day is it? Yeah. So
The,
did you hear about?
the whole Elon Musk thing.
No, no, no. The Serbia right now.
Oh yeah,
Serbia.
yeah. But that's been going on for quite a while.
Yeah,
Actually, it's
yeah.
not really something new.
So today it's the one of the largest crowd sizes in recent history in terms of protests. It's insane. Belgrade, Novi Sad, like
Mm.
all these major cities just flooded with students. And it's
Yeah,
it's it's really cool
What are they
because
protesting?
okay,
anti-corruption because what
Ah, okay, I think I
happened?
remember now.
Yeah, what happened is like in one of the train stations, the
Something
the
broke and it killed people, right?
yeah,
yeah
I'll give you
the
guys
roof of the
a
train
T
station collapsed.
yeah, I'll give you guys a
No, I keep
TLDR.
remembering
So
something.
it's a
Yeah.
series of things. Like last year in November, it was the train station in Novi Sad, and the front entrance, the canopy collapsed and killed 15 people. And that kind of sparked the interest of the public wondering, okay, why is it, why did it crash? Because it was supposedly recently renovated, right?
Hmm.
And then they found out that the government hired foreign contractors. So it was they hired Chinese contractors among other there were suppliers from Saudi Arabia or something. So it was all really fishy. And then so the public wanted the government to show them the invoice, basically the records, all the documentation. And they've been doing that since last year, and now now they still haven't been able to provide it. And so then the students of the thank God for art students, but basically University of Belgrade, the arts department, the students over there held a memoriam or some kind of sigil for the deceased, right? For the people that passed away, the accident. And they were attacked by men that they found out. So it was not just the students, the student and the professors, they were all physically attacked by these men. And these men turned out to be basically agents of the current ruling party. So you could say government
Mm.
agents, but it's the SNS. So the current ruling party under Alexander Vucic.
They hire some
Vucic.
sketchy people so they can kind of
basically
make
instill,
people fear
yeah. And so that
speaking out
kind of
about this.
yes, so that kind of angered students across Serbia. It started in Novi Sad. Students started to basically block in faculty offices. They stayed on campus, and then they organized marches around the country. And now, like it kept growing. And the really cool thing is that we're seeing because in Serbia the media is very controlled. So the media, obviously, the government keeps keeps calling them fascists, calling them a domestic terrorist or like fringe extremists. But
Hmm.
these students, they kept garnering momentum, and then we're seeing some cross generational what's the word, but basically the old people were going to these schools and providing these students with donations and food, and then
Mm.
just to help them and keep going. And when they march to other cities, ask other students to join, we see that the town people, people of the village welcoming them. And it's one of the biggest anti-corruption movement in the country because a lot of things have happened, right? Like even before the canopy incident, Serbia took on this huge investment from China, and so it's the project to build the railway. And so a lot of things are starting to unravel. There's just so much corruption. I wish we could get our Serbian friend on the podcast to explain this. He's very insightful, a very smart guy.
Yeah.
He could tell us all about this in much greater detail because he told me a little bit about all this a couple of years back. But like this makes
Already a
me
couple of years back.
yeah, even a couple of years back,
Yeah,
Alexander, I cannot pronounce his last name, but this guy is mad.
Vucic.
He's insane.
Vucic.
Vucic. Anyway,
No, Vucic. Yeah, come on, man. It's not
Vu-
that hard.
Hey, you're a bit muffled. I think Jamie can't really hear what
yeah,
your correction.
Am I muffled?
Yeah, a
Vucic.
little bit first. Vucic.
Vucic, Vucic.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Okay.
yeah, like we're starting to see that, like this is they're far from the only country doing that. Czech Republic also has a lot of joint construction from China. We're seeing a lot of Chinese projects slowly invading Eastern Europe, and
I
Mm.
mean, that's their Silk Road plan, isn't it? Their new
Yeah.
Silk Road plan.
yeah, yeah. Um, but it's kind of different from the ones that they do in Africa, because the ones in Africa they go into debt. Um, and I believe the ones in Eastern Europe are, paid for. Like it's a proper government contract. There's basically it's because it's not just because the Chinese government gave them a really sweet darling deal. It's also because these corrupt politicians, they want to make a buck out of it. So they basically siphon the money out of the difference from their budget and versus what they actually paid. So they overtax people,
Mhm.
claim the budget to be skyrocket the budget, but then actually didn't spend that much money and they pocket the rest. Right? It's kind of filthy. Like we see this in so many Eastern European nations. Oh, but yeah,
It's a classic.
Allegedly.
allegedly.
It's a classic.
It's alleged.
We don't know.
But this is but
Allegedly.
anyway, like with this protest, I feel like it's really nice that in the past couple of the past year, the whole thing with Luigi, and then like a lot of people, a lot of these young people are starting to kind of see the BS for what it is, and there's that class divide, and then I'm really hopeful
Okay,
for
everyone pretty much, I feel like.
pretty much, yeah, we're
Mm.
really feeling the oh man. And there's a lot of backlashes against these celebrities that they come up with these. Meghan Markle,
Who?
the Prince
Creator or
Andrew's wife. Uh,
oh no, I
but anyway, like they were fake celebrities, but basically Prince Andrew and then Meghan Markle, they quit the royal family, and then they started. Meghan Markle
yeah.
started having these lifestyle shows about making pasta, making her own artisanal honey, and then they're getting severe backlash because people are just like, we're all struggling to live here, and you are basically inviting guests and making a huge deal out of your fancy life. So I'm really happy for that. I feel like I don't know, we need to move in that direction,
Wait, wait, wait. You're happy for them for being harassed or what?
No, no,
What?
no, I'm happy for people waking up to this nonsense, right? Like we shouldn't
Oh, right, right, right.
because
I mean, I feel like that's a little bit too much. I feel like if people want to make artisanal honey and have a blog about it, they
Mhm.
should be able to do it. Like it doesn't always have to be,
Yeah.
um,
You,
you
you
know.
you shouldn't just like follow the trend. You should just wake up to your issues, but you shouldn't like harass
Yeah,
people.
well, I mean, what can they actually do, right? Like the people backlash physically was just a couple of tweets, right? It's just people complaining that how are you so tone deaf. I think this trend started during COVID. It was
Mm.
because a lot of celebrities go onto islands to have their own private parties. The UK
And then they were
government,
singing about like "We are the world" or some
right? Yeah,
shit
yeah,
like
yeah,
that. Do you remember
basically,
that one?
yeah, yeah. They're pushing for
Yeah.
vaccination, pushing for isolation, and all this curfews and whatnot, and then they themselves are breaking the very rules that they pretend to champion for. It's yeah, the Boris Johnson government at the time
But
was the
they're rich.
biggest.
They can. They
Ex-
can.
exactly, exactly. Oh, I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Do you guys feel like in the further down we go, um, the more competitive everything is, when work starts to lose value, right? Like, in the past, people would say that, if you graduate, one of the first things you need to do is get a job, because once you have a job, that's where your life begins. But that deal no longer exists for a lot of the younger generations now. You can get a job, but you're not going to go anywhere. Realistically, you're just going to pay your landlord, right? Uh, uh,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are career options where you can get pretty
oh, true, yeah. Like
well, but it's
it,
it's
it,
it's harder, I guess, than
it
it was
depends on
in the
the
past.
country as well, right? Like if you're born in India, then good luck, right? It's very difficult to. India is a very good example of an extreme difference between the rich and the poor.
Mm.
Oh, well.
Mm.
But what was your question to sum up? I forgot kind of.
Wait, what was it? No. Oh, I was gonna ask that. What do you guys think that where are we going with this? Or where are we going?
I feel like it's going to get worse. But I feel like at some point, and maybe people are already, as you said, we're waking up to this.
Yeah.
I think probably we'll do something about it.
Well,
Yeah,
really
I feel
hope
like
so.
there's gonna get to a critical mass where you can't not do anything about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. You have to. There will be like a point where it cannot
Something has
no
to
longer
give.
be ignored. Yeah.
Yeah, but because I asked this question because the governments or people in power basically have always been
Daphne.
really good at.
I'm sorry. Can I interrupt
Yeah,
before I
yes.
forget? I want to do a shout out to a listener of ours. I got a little info about a listener, and I kind of promised, at least to myself, to do a shout out to that listener. That's it. Sorry for interrupting you. I just remembered it in the beginning, and I was going to wait for you guys to finish, and then I kind of forgot, and now I remember this again.
But what was the
Oh,
shout
right.
out?
Since we're doing shout outs, like, hey, I got a comment from a listener. He said that we sound like our voices except for Jamie.
What?
We sound like what?
We sound like how our voices sound like. Like we no. We look like how our voices sound like, except for
Ah,
Jamie.
What does that mean?
maybe it's in a good way.
Wait, so this person knows how I look like?
Yeah.
Doxing.
Oh no,
Doxing.
that is terrible. Oh well.
No, it's not. It's not. But
I
yeah,
How
I
you
just
look or the
want
situation?
to how he looks because
oh my god.
I know this person. I've shared the picture,
Yes.
and their comments was like, "Wow, you guys sound like how you guys look like how you sound like, except for Jamie."
Were they expecting somebody a lot better looking?
They were expecting somebody more wider.
Not Asian. I knew it. Fuck's sake, man. Oh,
Wider. Wow. Really? Why? I
um,
think Jamie sounds really good. He could be a narrator.
a
yeah,
sultry
Jamie can be a
voice.
narrator.
I need to I need to start my ASMR channel. But I
Yes.
ran into the same situation before, like when I was working at the hotel in Miami. A lot of our guests, when they land at the airport up in, I forgot where, but I think yeah, it's the
In
airport in
Miami.
Miami, but it's very far away. So there's a whole transportation I have to arrange. I get in touch with them, I talk to them, and then when I go pick them up, I would hold up a sign, and then that person had I don't want to say their name, but they have like a very common last name, right? And then it was, oh, hotel blah blah blah, and then Mr. da da da. And then
Mr. Smith.
yeah, I knew him. I know how he looks like. So I saw him, and he looked at me, and he walked past me. He's just like, oh my, I felt terrible for that. Anyway, how was your week, Dan? We went on very long.
Oh wait, one more shout out to a lady. She's feeling a little sick right now, unfortunately, but she's also a dedicated listener. Thank you for listening in. We appreciate you guys.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Give us some
yeah,
ideas to talk about, some stuff that we can speak
Oh
about.
yeah.
That would be fun.
yeah,
We should
yeah.
take in questions and stuff like that.
Put
That's a
put a
nice idea.
comment down below on what we should talk about. Don't just listen. Engage with us, please. Please, we need it.
But
All right,
yeah.
sorry for that interruption. Back to the
No, all
program.
good. My week, let me remember. It was a good week. We had like this weekend. My wife went to a little trip with her friends, so I was kind of alone, but it was nice. We went to a friend yesterday. We were going to watch a movie or something, but we kind of couldn't find anything
What
we want
movie?
to watch. So instead, we just had a really nice conversation with all of us.
Oh, sorry, Dan,
Nice.
your audio broke off for a moment. Can you repeat?
I
Sure.
heard him then.
So we were going to watch a movie at a friend's place, but instead we had a really good conversation because we kind of couldn't come up with a movie. And while we were talking, at some point we understood that we don't even really want to watch the movie.
You could just have like a
Uh,
good, lately I realized that with a lot of, well, I don't really have any friends here, but when I had friends here in this country, when I could physically hang out with them, it's always like we put on a film for background noise, and
mm,
we talk about stuff.
ah,
Feel like there's a demand for background noise movies. Is that why movies suck nowadays? Is because people understand understand that we're not really watching them.
nah. I
I don't
remember
know
when I
about
was a
you
child,
guys.
I really liked to put TV on the back in the background. Like it would be uncomfortable if it was quiet in the room.
I have the
I don't
same
know about you
thing.
guys, but like I know some people listen to our podcast as background noise.
Mm. Well, it makes
No.
sense.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, it's not like they don't completely tune out. I mean, like it's more like they're doing something and listening in while they're doing that something. You know,
Yeah, but
that's
I
how.
think that's perfectly normal for a
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah, that's how I
I think so too.
consume.
I mean, I don't sit down and like completely focus on it
Yeah.
sometimes.
You must sit down and listen to us fully engage for 1 hour of our
Yeah.
blabbering. Don't get distracted by anything.
But man, because
Hey, boy.
by the way, speaking of like the sound, like background noise, because our audio quality and volume and levels are so different that when I edit it in my editor software, I can physically see where Bernard is speaking and where I am speaking. Dan's kind of like all over the place, and so I have to like level out the entire. I have to normalize the quality level, and as a result our audio quality kind of just gets worse than
I'm
the
sorry.
actual input.
I'm sorry. It's gonna get better because like I do have a microphone. I did buy a microphone. The problem is I'm never at that place where the microphone is. So once I stop moving around and I have access to it over the weekends, it's gonna I hope it's gonna get better because I invested like 50 euros into it. So it should be all right.
I have seen like a lot of the headphones nowadays, they boast about having AI, whatever that means.
In the
But
headphone?
no,
It
but
means artificial intelligence, Jamie.
I know, but
You're welcome.
where? Okay, thank you.
No, no,
Uh,
I get what you mean.
yeah, but it started out as artificial intelligence in helping with noise cancellation. So that has like a very smart mode for when to cancel out noises. If you're at a train station, it amps up the noise cancellation. And now
Mhm.
there are some headphones that has the same AI feature, but it's for your voice. So when you're on a phone call
Mm.
with somebody, it does do its best, to isolate the voice. So you get
It
like a
mutes you because you're too
you're too noisy.
And it also filter you, or even listen to you and change the sentence to something more poetic and well put together.
cooperate speak. Remember that episode about cooperate speak?
Uh, about what? Corporate speech or?
Yeah, yeah,
Corporate
yeah.
speak, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
the the
Where
language that
you
you
say
have to use.
something like, but it automatically change it on the other end.
yeah.
Man, can you can you imagine like in the future people when people are doing podcasts or just talking in general that they have like an AI assistant turned on, and whenever you speak the AI records your voice and plays it back, but whenever it needs to change something it will change it but in real time, so you never say the
Oh
wrong
my god!
thing.
Remember we had that episode where we have to say stuff like what media awareness or what you call it, Jamie? Like we have to unalive yourself, you the PDF and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. There are some words that we
Uh,
want to be very
So
careful.
I had a brain fantasy where we had to start talking like the TikTokers. Baby Gronk just raised up
Oh,
somebody.
oh man, that gives me cringe.
Oh my god.
The what are they called? The family of Rizzlers.
I don't know, the Costco guys or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, it's just nasty.
Oh
Whenever
god.
I see them using their own children in their own content, that's where society has gone wrong. Like, if you involve your kids in any content you produce, it just no, that's where you stop.
At
By the
what
way,
point does it become child labor?
yeah. Oh, by the way, what are your thoughts on using AI to talk to your girlfriend? Like, for example, like,
What?
these memes of people using
uh,
ChatGPT to break up with their girlfriends or boyfriends.
like
What?
in that episode of South Park.
Yeah, that was in an episode where Stan used ChatGPT to break up with, wait, was it Wendy? I forgot. But
Oh, it was the breakup. I
No, no,
remember it
he
was
didn't.
just
He didn't break
dealing.
up. Yeah, he just spoke with her,
oh, right,
but
right, right.
over
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Yes. And so I've seen similar stuff on Reddit where people have used where it's funny because there are some words that it's very ChatGPT.
Such
Mm,
as, can you give me an example?
Yes, there is a robust is one of it. One of them, I
Okay.
forgot. There was a
mm.
whole list. I need to find it somewhere, but it's funny. Yeah, there are things
You
that
just have to feed the prompt and tell it not to use these words.
Yeah. Without using the word
Aha,
robust,
checkmate.
my goodness.
problem solved.
But like with all this AI stuff, we're getting really close to this dead internet theory, where you have bots commenting stuff and then bots replying to the bot comment, and it's just an
Making
endless loop.
vegetable Jesus
Yeah, man. Oh,
and saying amen.
but,
uh,
like,
but
how do
you were
you?
asking about
Mhm.
talking to your girlfriend using ChatGPT.
Oh
I
yes,
think
yes.
that's pretty fucked up. I mean,
I
like,
mean, what's
it's
the
fine
point
to
though?
kind of use ChatGPT to maybe find a way to talk about something that you're not sure how to talk about. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
on a regular basis, that's kind of
silly.
that's just
If you ask me,
it kind of defeats the purpose of having a
a
girlfriend.
partner.
I mean,
Yeah,
it becomes like
what's the point?
from your perspective, you're just having like a friend with benefits, or you're just the person that you can come to for
Mm.
benefits, and for that person, you're also their like relationship, like you're lying basically to them.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
steel man this the situation because I'm wondering, like, maybe if you're just so terrible at putting thought to words, then maybe you're the kind of person that unintentionally says the wrong thing, or maybe you just have a partner who is very, is very easily offended or just easily agitated. So you want to, kind of whenever you have like, I
then
feel
maybe
like
it's just a sign that you guys are not meant for each other.
could be, yeah, or it could be that maybe
I
you
mean,
are in a
if you're bad at talking, maybe you can use ChatGPT to find why are you bad at talking. What is like maybe the things you should avoid. Like use ChatGPT as your trainer to help you improve. I think that's perfectly
Yeah,
fine.
Mm.
Mm,
yeah. You
I guess
shouldn't
it's so.
rely it. I think you shouldn't rely on it as the solution. It should be a trainer to help you be better, kind of. You know what I mean? Kind of like what's Dan saying.
Yeah, I'm playing with Play-Doh while talking.
like
Like
I
actual
yeah.
Play-Doh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dan, do you remember the kinetic sand thing that we used to play with?
Yeah. I had that.
Oh, that was fun.
Interesting stuff.
Can
I
you enlighten me on what it is?
It's this it feels like sand, but it's also mixed with something like an adhesive, but a very weak one. So
Mhm.
it's very flexible. It's more flexible on a Play-Doh. It's kind of like closer to a liquid in a way. Still hard and it still forms into a clump, but
Yeah,
you can put it on something and it kind of starts to stretch over it. It kind of feels like very weird gum now. I remember
it's kinetic
and
sands. Like the
sand.
kinetic energy draws them together, I guess. Like so yeah, it feels like it feels doughy. Uh
Hmm.
if you
But I think if you hit it, it gets hard.
yeah, kind of like
That.
That's what she
non-Newtonian.
said.
Yeah. Oh, do you miss that? Do you miss that trend? You know, I've always wondered, like, when do we as a society, when do we stop saying the word bro? When did we start saying bro?
I don't know.
Right? Like it didn't
I
that
guess
used
around 2010.
was it 2010 or 2000?
No, it
Yeah.
was earlier because, like, if you think about it,
Uh,
like, dude, where's my car? Dude, where's my car? And stuff like there's always been that word
oh, well, I thought
present.
we were talking about the actual word bro.
Yeah, yeah, it's been in movies like since before. No,
Ah,
Was it?
I think so.
well, probably. It's just the date I felt like, if I
Ah,
had to guess.
I think it started
fair
with
enough.
like the Californian kind of like surfer speak, you know, like how Californian guys would talk.
Yeah, like surfs up, bro.
Yeah,
You know what I
funny.
mean. I'm just trying to imitate it.
Yeah.
I cannot wait
Sounds
for the
funny.
day that we stop saying that.
Why does it bother you?
I don't know. Yeah, it rubs me the wrong way. It irks me. 'Cause I just feel
How
like,
so?
in the sense that I feel like it's just been a thing for too long, and we really should stop. Same thing with dude. You know, same thing with dude. I feel like it's just we should have something new by now. That's how I feel.
For me, it kind of sounds a little bit aggressive, I would say. It doesn't. It's not supposed to, and it's not a bad word or anything or offensive. But
The word bro.
yeah, but it's it's kind of like maybe it's crossing boundaries that it shouldn't cross. Like if you keep calling everyone bro, even the people that you don't really know, they're not your bro. You don't know them.
I'm not your bro, dude.
Hmm.
Just trying to analyze why I feel like it's a bit intrusive or aggressive. I'm not quite sure how to call it.
Well, I don't usually call people my bro unless I actually like them.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's a benchmark you need to pass.
yeah.
Oh man.
I rate you on how valuable you are to my
How
life.
bro are you,
No, no.
Wait, you never called me bro then. That feels oh, I feel
Jamie?
sad.
I'm
That's
sorry to
not
hear that.
true. I didn't. I called you my brother from another mother, like literally last episode, man.
Oh, true. Okay, no, no, okay, so it was Dan.
Man,
Dan never called me bro.
bro, what you're talking about?
Bro.
No, don't start now. You know, like okay, wait, going back to like the whole AI comments, you know, the comment stuff. You know, like do you guys hear about the thing where a guy was it a Palestinian guy or someone like in the States, and then he said something, and then his green card or his permanent residence is about to be revoked because he was part of some protest and whatnot.
Oh, and I didn't
Mm,
hear about this.
Yeah, so there's this
no, I have no
activist.
idea about this.
So
He,
I'm to kind of understand. He was he was protesting and he said something, and some AI picked it up and somehow is connected to a government, and the
no, no, no,
government
no, no,
now
no, no.
wants
I
to deport him.
no, I was just talking about like in general, like the like with AI comments and whatnot. I was just talking about commenting in general. And that this guy basically had said some stuff and then is then getting deported. I was trying to see because this is something that bothered me this week. The whole thing about freedom of speech, And I think like most people don't actually want freedom of speech. People want controlled speech. And this is where I feel like you and I, like, I think my opinion would differ from you guys. Like, do you think we should have freedom of speech?
Yeah, I think we should. I think what I don't like about today is I feel like there's a lot of ways for governments or even just private entities to, for example, have stuff like bot farms where you kind of create for like all the other people a feeling that, for example, a topic that you want to influence has a majority of the opinion you want,
Yeah, yeah. Like the
right?
opinion is inflated, right? Is artificially inflated to
Uh,
give you the impression that people agree with this opinion.
Yeah.
yeah, and also I don't think it's directly related to what you were asking, but I don't like that all of us have a different feed. I wish we would open a website and we would see the same exact stuff.
Then is for a central government, basically.
Dan is a dictator.
I
No,
mean,
no, I
not
am
all
not.
dictators are bad. If you look at the Singapore, for example, don't kid yourself. That is a dictatorship. It's just thankfully the guy in charge had the best intention. Oh, I mean, of course. Oh, I
Well, the problem with dictatorships is
allegedly,
that
allegedly,
you tie the destiny of a country with one man, or I don't know, one woman or one group of people, and if they're good, then
it's good.
yay, it's good. But if they're bad, then
Then
oh
it's
well,
shit.
it's
Yeah,
shit for you and maybe for your kids and maybe for your grandkids, and you can't really do anything.
yeah.
That's the problem. And the democracy, on the other hand, is kind of always a little bit. I would say on average it's better, right? Of course,
But
it
it's
has its.
difficult because I also see some.
It's like that phrase. Democracy is bad, but this is the best thing we have.
Hmm.
I mean, I feel like this democracy, is it democracy when because what we're seeing now is just there's so much imbalance of power. It's the democracy we want is democracy of the people, but I fear that we're moving in the direction of democracy of companies or democracy of billionaires. It is a democracy, but for them,
I
that
mean, I think it cannot be a democracy if it's for them. The whole idea is that
yeah.
everyone has the say in it. It can be called
Mm.
something else, I guess. But I
The
would know what you mean. I feel like it's just that. I feel like our society is going in waves, and we're on a low part of it right now. Because
Mhm.
I feel like, well, if we start from our position, at some point we're going to hit a level where we were like, fuck, we can't take it anymore. Something has to change, something has to improve, and something changes, right? For
Mhm.
some
Hmm.
reason, something changes, and it starts to change, and people are so tired of it that they really change their way of life to kind of influence the world around them, and
Hmm.
eventually it gets better and it gets really good, and we relax, we let it go, and we kind of let it go wherever it's going, and after a while it will start to dip again, and then
Is it
the cycle will repeat. I feel like
is it that cycle where good times create weak men and weak men create hard times and hard times create
yeah,
um,
basically kind of.
See,
I
yeah,
feel like it
that's the
has
thing, right? The
a
problem.
certain truth to it.
So the problem with that is in much older days, coups were a real thing, and revolutions did happen, right? People rallied, people got together, but the problem is a lot of these revolutions that happened also had really rich people backing them. Most of the French Revolution, it was because another group of people wanting power, so they empower the unhappy citizens to overthrow the government, for example. A recent example, you could
Yeah.
argue that a lot of countries would have these student protests, and then eventually it goes from a student protest to a student protest being backed by adversaries of the incumbent government. So there's always money involved, and then
I mean, they see the flow of things happening, and
yeah,
they it's really hard to create something out of nothing. But if there's already a movement, it's easier to kind of get into it and maybe steer it in your in a more favorable direction for you. I feel like
yeah,
that's how it always
so
happens.
that's the whole reason why I was asking you guys about like freedom of speech. It's because I'm wondering, we've gotten so good in terms of technology at killing people. Basically, we have unimaginable amounts of destructive power. It's a lot easier to enforce the law nowadays. Now that you could arm your police with all the equipment and whatnot, like, eventually we'll get to a stage where uh a revolution or a coup or overthrowing a government simply becomes impossible. If the citizens are not armed, you cannot do that, right?
Mm.
And so the whole point is that I fear that, just seeing that even when it comes to freedom of speech, there's so much debate that most people are actually in favor of. You have freedom of speech as long as you XYZ. As long as you don't hurt anybody, you have freedom of speech as long as you don't, as long as you don't talk about, let's say, Palestine, or talk bad of Israel. You have freedom of speech until you support the Nazis, for example. Like, should we
Mm.
allow people to? Should we have a fundamentally, like, a so to speak, a Kantian approach of freedom of speech, where it's just no limits, where as a basis you should have no legal consequences uh saying anything.
Well, I think that your freedom ends where somebody else's freedom starts. I don't think it should be like anarchy.
Anarchy.
Uh, and yeah, so a certain level of, I would say, um, another thing I don't quite like today, I guess, is that maybe it's a good thing in a way. Maybe it should be always possible to speak anonymously, but I feel like real conversation should happen even on a level of citizens, should happen through accounts that are like really your account, that
Yeah,
are
yeah, like properly
verified by
verified.
an ID, the same way you verify before you get into your online bank account. And I
Mm.
think
But
you can
we
you can
so
always
for example,
register
the
an account
Korean
that
gaming
doesn't
community in Korea, if you play most of the online games, you really do have to sign up with your own documentation. If you cheat in video games, there are legal consequences. If you say something, if
well,
you do something, the government can trace it back. They'll find you for flaming somebody on Counter Strike online, right?
yeah.
And is that a good
I,
thing?
um, I feel like having a certain responsibility when you're talking
Yeah.
anywhere is good. Um, Another question is how strict are your laws? Like if I'll get like a very severe punishment for, I don't know, saying Jamie, you're stupid, then I guess the problem is the law, and I guess the problem is maybe we're by having accounts like that, we're handing over too much authority over ourselves to the government. But that's what I was going to say. I think it's important to have both options always. Like it should be mandatory that you can always register with I don't know, Pussy Slayer 69,
Yeah.
and you don't have to prove anything to anyone, and you can say whatever you want. But at the same time, you always have an option of registering under your name, and everyone seeing that this is truly a real person, and if he's verified and he's
Mm.
like there's no doubles, I guess,
Yeah.
and maybe to the point where you can also filter the whole like platform or website and tell it that for example, I only want to see comments from verified accounts.
Yeah.
But if you don't want, you can always say, I don't want to see their comments. I only want to see the anonymous, or I want to see all of them at the same time, like however you want. Because I feel like there are conversations that you can have from accounts like that are verified, and these conversations will benefit from them. For example, about politics, like if you filter only the comments that are
Mm.
from real people, and you're speaking from an account where you're also verified, I feel like the conversation might be more constructive, maybe less aggressive, maybe less insulting and stuff like that. And also, maybe I'm naive, but I feel like it will help with
The
people trying to
discourse, people.
influence with bot farms and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to give up something for, I guess it's a give and take situation, right? Because the internet culture relies heavily on anonymity. Like you could argue that the Reddit space, Reddit as a social media is a place where people thrive because precisely because they could be anonymous.
Yeah,
Where they
I mean,
could,
I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't want to remove that. They should stay there,
yeah.
even as a safeguard. That if for some reason the government will get too punishy
Mm,
or strict and stuff like that, that you can always just not engage in anything using your
mm.
like um, verified account.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let me try and gauge your opinions. So the whole point of me talking about this Palestinian, well, I don't know if he's from Palestine or not, but this guy in the States who openly talked against, protested against is the IDF incursion on Palestinian grounds. So this guy's basically protesting against Netanyahu, and then the U.S. government basically thought that this is a person on a student visa, and so they wanted to have a show of force, basically saying that, oh, we really don't want you to they basically say, if you side with the Palestinians, then we'll label you as somebody who is anti-Semitic, right? And so they were trying to deport him on the grounds of anti-Semitism. And the whole kerfuffle happened because they found out that this person is not on a student visa, that he is in fact a green card holder. I don't know if he has a green card, but he has residency, legal residency, and now they're trying to deport him. At the same time, while this is happening, so that already sparked a conversation about freedom of speech. This is where people firsthand, obviously people think of the government, the Trump government, as being farcical. Just saying something, protesting something about the Israeli warfare against Palestine. They mark you as an anti-Semite, right?
Mm.
At the same time, in Taiwan, we're having this situation where an internet celebrity, like an influencer, who is a Chinese woman but married over to Taiwan, but then divorced her Taiwanese husband, but she has legal residency here in Taiwan, and she would often get on her channel with her children sometimes and spout topics like reunification with Taiwan through any means necessary, so implying she is a supporter of Chinese annexation, basically. And so because
Mm.
she said that, it sparked an outrage, and now the Taiwanese government basically deported her. And so again, the
Mm.
same conversation is happening here. Should we deport you uh for saying the wrong things? Should we allow governments to do that? Even when in this case, in America's case, it's very unjustified, and in Taiwan's case, a lot of people believe that it's very justified. Uh, but still, like, should
Yeah.
we have this? Should government have this authority to do that?
Hmm.
Can that happen in Latvia?
I feel like
I think
I feel like I've
I
been
think
speaking a lot. Maybe Bernard, you want to talk?
I would I would say it should be up to the people.
Mm,
You kind of I would maybe I'm wrong maybe in saying this, but I feel like Switzerland has one of the good examples of a direct democracy where we can cast our votes on referendums and stuff like that. And if if I think it doesn't matter what's right or what's wrong. I think it matters what the people want, right? So if the people say no, they want the government to have this power, then I think they should let the government have that power. And if the people say that they don't want the government to have this kind of power, then as the pendulum swings, it has to be like that.
So you're saying basically they should vote on it.
Yeah.
But what if it's like the case of the UK, where some people that have spoken out against, I think it was the Boris government or the Truss government, I forgot who, but they said something on Twitter, and this is a couple of years back. They got interviewed by the police, uh, uh, and same thing. You know, the British people didn't vote about this, and certainly the British people didn't agree that the government should have this power, but still they can. And you get interviewed for, it's
I
very
mean,
dystopian, right? Like, you get interviewed for saying the wrong things. This is something that happens in China.
hmm.
Should we
But I,
should Yeah?
but I feel like people should be able to talk about anything they want as long as it's not harming anyone. So I would say freedom of speech for me stops when you start saying, "Okay, we should all gather and go find that guy and kill him." Uh, like I think this is
Yeah,
where it's already
that
not about freedom of speech.
yeah,
It's
Mhm.
that's
about safety.
marshaling to violence.
And I would say it would be perfectly fine if somebody would post that on, I don't know, Instagram, and the police would then go and talk with that person and say, "Hey, why did you say that? You know, this is
Yeah, because
actually
it's
illegal."
no longer just speech. You're marshaling people to an action. It goes beyond speech by that point.
And I
Yeah,
mean, you
so
can always tell people that I think you should, I don't know, eat healthy. That's kind of also marshaling to an action, but I guess the action is harmless, you could say.
so the debate is right here, right? So the debate is, should we have a bottom line? Should there be should free speech just be unconditional, and you let people say whatever they want, and they will face social consequences of maybe being outcast. So if you say something about Nazism, and then obviously people start to dislike you, and then they'll basically yeah, say nasty stuff about you in return. Or should we have moderation, but you risk the problem of what has happened in the states, where whoever runs the government gets to decide that bottom line. You know,
Mm.
so there's always
Yeah,
that
but see, the
risk.
people decided. The people decided on who their government were.
No, but in the case of the states, the argument is about the First Amendment right, right?
About states, I feel like it's important that your government has systems that allow people to say, "Whoa, I think that was, I don't know, too harsh," and they have real ways that really work to change something about it, right? Because accidents like that will happen, like,
Mm,
um, and I think it's important that you have the ability as people to then say, "Okay, maybe this is not right. We should change that," and you can change that. It's only bad when the power is somebody took complete control of the country and you can't do anything about him, her.
yeah. And I guess that is the struggle, right? Like, it always feels like when I was younger, I had the opinion that um you should have free speech, and until as long as you don't hurt anybody, as long as you don't incite violence or riots or anything. Um, but we are seeing where when you as a people have a bottom line drawn, then you get abuses of power, and it almost feels like complete freedom of speech could work if people could if people are well educated, and if people are not as easily manipulated, if everybody is somehow accountable to what they say and is critical engages in critical thinking, which feels almost impossible. And then on the other hand, there is the argument for moderation because of bots, because of AI, because of because some people are easily could be manipulated, right? Like in the case of Facebook not doing some proper moderation in the case of the government of Myanmar, which then allowed Myanmar to be almost a. It's crazy because in Myanmar, if you sign up with a phone carrier, your internet is not free, but you are free to use Facebook because the incumbent government there spreads their propaganda on Facebook, right? Like so this is another example of why if moderation would happen, sometimes moderation could go wrong. Where
Yeah.
And don't forget, nobody is immune to propaganda. Everybody is immune
exactly.
is affected by propaganda. You might think that, oh no, I will see it from a mile away, but no,
Yeah,
you don't.
because we're not actively looking for propaganda all the time, right? Like we're not actively looking for it. Just as you cannot always concentrate when you're driving. Though if you're driving long enough, there are times you're not paying attention. So this is a struggle, right? Like this is inherent to our freedom, inherent to how we should organize ourselves. And this topic alone is just it boggles the mind this week. It's bothering me. It's been bothering me this week, and I don't know what to think about it.
I feel like when you
But
said
then the
that
question is, sorry, yeah.
I'll make it quick. When you said that if everyone is smart, then the complete freedom of speech will work, and it made me think that I feel like at a certain point you also mentioned that you think maybe that a complete freedom of speech should allow people to say whatever they want, and then if the rest of the society doesn't like it, they can kind of also say what they think about it, and maybe even to the point of outcasting that person.
Mhm.
And this all came together in my mind and made me think that maybe it's also about the size of the society. So when you are in your, I don't know, group of friends, there's like, let's say 10 people, then you don't need anything to moderate it because it's everyone knows each other.
Yeah, you
It's all very
self-moderate.
manageable. Yeah, but if it's the size of a country, you start to get this need, in my opinion, for something like a institution that looks after all of this, because it's impossible. It will become too easy to slip through the cracks if
Yeah,
it's all managed by just people, and if they want it, and if they have time for that, and if they understand it. Like it's just a mess. It's
exactly.
like
Like,
if we would, it's like if we would write laws, then we didn't have police, and we would say, okay, everyone is the police.
yeah.
It would be well,
So
maybe I'm exaggerating, but you get the point.
yeah. So this is a classic example of, like us human beings having the ideal, the ideal being a moderation that is fair and fully objective, but just by nature of being a human being with biases and biases and opinions, even if you're an entire group doing the moderation, you cannot by definition you cannot be fair because it's a human being doing that. In the same way
Mm.
that we've struggled with also socialism when being implemented by people. There's no perfect Marxism if people implementing it are prone to human tendencies of wanting to hold on to power. Right. The same thing with capitalism, where where the ideal would be a stronger middle class, but what plays out currently in the world is proof that it's slowly stopping to work, and it's just I don't know, it's just frustrating. It almost feels like a world in the future where people might need to be managed by artificial intelligence. Isn't there a movie
Mhm.
about this where you people work for the machine and are organized by the machine? I forgot which one it was.
I
Um,
don't think I saw it, but I imagine there is one.
It kind of already
Matrix comes to mind.
It kind of already is happening. It's a little terrifying to think about. But yeah, there are a lot of people that a lot of artists or photoshoppers, they instead of coming up with their own work, they are now being asked to generate work with AI and then work on that. So they get assigned tasks. They work on something that a machine produces, as opposed to the other way around, where human gets machines to produce something. I don't know. This whole it's just been bothering me this week. We should we should pivot to something.
It's an
Yeah,
interesting topic. Actually, I think
yeah.
about it every once in a while as well.
You know I was watching this. Wait, I was watching this show called Pantheon. Benny, you finished it, didn't you? It's on Netflix. It's a
No, I know of it, but I didn't watch it.
Okay, so TLDR for that whole series, it's an imaginative dystopian future where people can upload themselves into the digital space, so they become UI, uploaded intelligence, and one of the central theme of that animation is that, uh, you know, because human strife has been justice over matter, how we distribute resources, to ultimately create a more fair society. And the show's central theme is that if you remove the need for resources, then justice can be achieved, because by uploading yourself, you no longer are bound by your physical needs. And by that extension, countries no longer need to be at war if you if you're not competing for land, for example, right? And but yeah,
Theoretically, yeah.
it's a very interesting thought experiment of what do they call it? Was it a matryoshka, like the Russian nesting doll?
Yeah.
When people are talking about the Fermi paradox of saying, "Oh, why haven't we met aliens that are similar to us in terms of technological capabilities?" And some people, some scientists have proposed the possibility that there could exist sentient civilization out there that do not exist, that no longer exist in the physical space. And they basically the great filter for any intelligent civilization is that they overcome the need for they overcome their own biology, and basically by doing that they don't exist within the biological plane, which explains why we don't see it's a theory, but yeah, it's interesting to think about.
Yeah, they're like in the fourth or fifth dimension and stuff like that.
Yeah. The show is very short. It's animated by the same team that animates Invincible, if people know about the comics. But yeah, it's really good. Definitely recommend. Should we pivot away from all this dreadful? I don't know why. Like, this is what I've been
Yeah.
thinking about, and then when I meet somebody, I talk about this, and I feel like I bring them down.
No, I mean, well, I think it's good to talk about it. You know, at the end of the day, you still have to remind yourself, like you're still only human. There's only so much you can do in the limited influence that you have. So while it is an interesting thing to talk about and think about, I still feel like we have to remind ourselves that we need to stay grounded. You know, it's
That's
like all
true.
these issues in the world today, right?
Yeah.
But what can you realistically do about it? I'm not trying to be a pessimist into saying like, oh, we shouldn't think about it because there's nothing we can do about it. That's not what I mean. But at some point, you have to also understand like our influence is limited, so we do what we can do, and everything else, unfortunately, we have to just leave it up to those in charge.
I think we have to spread the load. We as an
Yeah.
individual can't like fix everything, but
Yeah.
I think we're doing a lot
You could
already.
work on
We're
something.
talking
You
about
could
it.
you
We're
could
talking
work
about
towards
it
a
on the
goal that could
podcast.
marginally
And as long
benefit.
as you do like change some of your life habits or purchasing decisions based on your beliefs, I think that's already a lot. And maybe just talk about it with your friends or relatives every once in a while. And I think that will change a lot.
Do you feel
Yeah,
like our generation buys more stuff than our parents did? Do we buy more useless things?
I feel
Mm,
like I buy more stuff than my parents did.
Was it because you need
Uh,
them?
But I feel like I have more expendable income than my parents did as well, though.
I feel like I'm buying less stuff than my parents, but I don't have a very good example because my parents are, I would say, somewhat rich, and
I am buying way
and they're
less.
still, I know that they're still buying more stuff than I do. So, but that's
Yeah.
not a good comparison. If we compare it to my grandmother, then I would say I'm buying a lot more stuff. But that's
Yeah,
only because she was living in the Soviet Union and
Yeah.
she couldn't really buy stuff. There was this funny way to buy expensive things. So you first have to get approval that you can buy that thing. That was a TV. Like the government must allow you to buy it before you can buy it. And then you go to the place and you can break up your payment in parts, but you don't get the TV until you make the last payment. So you just go to the store every month, give them some money, and then when it adds up to a whole TV, then you can take your TV.
Do you think that's better as opposed to what we have now, where you buy something with a credit card and you pay in installments back, but you can own the stuff first. Except when you pay stuff back, you pay interest on top of the
I
original
feel like
amount.
I feel like the ability to buy something and pay for it later is really good. It's really good when you use it for something smart
Yeah.
because I don't know, for example, an apartment, it would make sense to buy it like by borrowing money because in the future, most likely it will become even more expensive. So if you're just, I don't know, living somewhere for 20 years and gathering the money to buy that apartment, you'll probably end up in a worse situation. Like for something like that, I think it's a perfect approach. And basically, I would, if you look at all your purchases that you do for by borrowing money, if you look at them from a business perspective, right? Like, is it beneficial for me to get it earlier and then maybe pay a bit extra, but you can pay in parts, so I get to the thing earlier? Is it beneficial for me? And if yes, then you just do it, and I think that makes sense. But if you know, if you're just like a greedy brat and you just buy up all the stuff that you want and you don't look at why you need it and do you have enough income to cover all that debt, then that's just irresponsible. It's a tool. It's a powerful tool. If you don't use it responsibly,
You know,
then you can mess yourself up.
it's funny you
yeah.
say that because in the early days of Taiwanese economy, a lot of during our economic boom, there were a lot of rich families with rich children, and these kids, once they become of age, they start getting credit cards, and because they're from really rich families, right? So they get approved like that, right? It's really fast. It's like, oh, I know you're from this famous family of this famous corporation. Of course, you can sign up for my credit card. And then what they do is they buy stuff and then they just don't pay for it. They reject the purchase, and then you keep doing that, your credit card gets canceled, right? If you keep
Yeah.
rejecting purchases, and then they found a loop where they just buy stuff and then they would apply for a no charge because they claim that it's a mischarge, right? And then the bank would cancel their credit card saying, oh, maybe because it was stolen, and then they get a new one and then rinse and repeat.
Hmm.
It was a hack for a
Yeah,
while.
but that's abusing the system, though, and usually the issues comes when the system gets abused because that's not how it's supposed to be used.
Yeah. Oh, well, very soon they did rectify that. But anyway, I just feel like our generation just I just have a lot less things, you know, than it almost
Yeah,
makes
but
me feel.
is it perceived less things, or is it like because what are you comparing yourself to, right?
That's true. Well, surely, yeah. If I compare myself to my parents, then I'm definitely buying less things. I don't know. I just feel like our generation don't get to.
Then I have to ask you the question, and I'm sure you know the answer for to it yourself. You don't have to say it out loud. Did you think your parents' spending habits were responsible?
No. I used to
Yeah.
think that it's irresponsible, but I have come to see, I have come to see that. Yeah. So if So my dad knows that he's not going to be able to pay back all of his debts, but he doesn't care. It's fine. The debt dies with him. So that's his life plan now. He doesn't care that he
Yeah,
has a lot.
but is that a responsible human being? Do you want to be like that? Are you saying it's okay because somebody else gets shat on?
uh I guess the moral debate here is that should you abuse, quote unquote, abuse the system, because the repercussions always come back to us as normal day, like, middle lower class citizens, right? It always comes back as an inflation when monetary systems get played. You ask if I should engage in it, and I return the question as in, well, a lot of really rich and powerful people game the system by tax evasion. So, in comparison, what my dad is doing is far less egregious than, let's say, Jeff Bezos not paying a single dime on taxes in the year of 2022 during COVID, for example.
Yeah,
Does that make it
but is
okay?
that okay for you? Because somebody's gonna pay the bills. Like somebody's gonna have to pay for it. Is as long as it's not you, is that okay? Does that make it okay?
I guess for me, then the question is, if all the rich and powerful are doing it, well, why shouldn't I do it? I'm gonna suffer the consequences nonetheless, right? Like, if there is a
Hmm.
proverbial lake that everybody drinks from, and if you know that the most powerful people are siphoning water out of the lake, you know that you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna run out. Well, why shouldn't you join in on this deal?
Well, I guess then that just comes down to individual morals and principles, right?
True.
How far do you let yourself go to get what you want?
Indeed, yeah. Would you say it's an for you, would you be okay with, let's say, lending money uh to buy stocks? Is that something you would do? Essentially lending money to borrowing money
Do
from
you
a
mean
bank.
borrowing money?
Yeah, so yeah, would you borrow money from the government, from the bank, to bet, to trade, to buy stocks?
Nah,
Yeah, but
nah.
that's what that's what some of the most powerful, richest people have done. It's they basically, debt is money, right? Like, this is I had a very lengthy financial education for the past month, but yeah, it's kind of insane. It's what people have done throughout the past 2 decades. It's basically just borrowing money to bet on things that would appreciate in value. So, you make the money in that difference.
Yeah, but I'm not me. They're not me, and I'm not them, though. Just
That's
because
true.
other people do it, I don't want to do it. Maybe I'm a fool for thinking like this, but then I'll die a happy fool, I guess.
At the end of the day, you have to make peace with yourself when we pass.
Yeah,
I guess this is
and I'm already I'm happy where I am. To be honest, like I don't like I'm okay. My people are okay, and that's all right. Like I don't feel like I need more. I don't want more. If you have a big house, there's a lot of rooms you have to clean, unless you get a cleaning lady or a cleaning person. It
you
doesn't have to
can
be a lady.
you can always get an illegal immigrant to clean for for below minimum wage.
As far as I'm aware, there's a Taiwanese guy that's willing to clean the house for a decent
Hey,
loan, right?
hey! Let's not shame our maids or
It's
cleaning
not
duties.
shaming.
Somebody
I'm just
has to
saying
do
that
it.
there's an option there.
I was looking at some of these Chinese ladies, and then they live to a very old age, because I'm looking at what's it called, the blue zone, or the not the twilight zone,
What?
areas in the world where people age to the hundreds, where you have centurions, like people what's it called, the place in the south of Japan, uh
Hmm.
I forgot what's it called, the place, but yeah, old people over there, they live to a they lived on average. The women lived to the 110s and 120s, and there are these
Mhm.
blue zones in the Mediterranean. Like a lot of these Mediterranean people are very long lived, and where we went to university, the three of us, that is apparently that was also a blue zone. A lot of French people slash Swiss people live to a very old age, and
Do you want to live
Oh.
forever though?
I don't know, but no. Anyway, the commonality is that they move throughout the day. So like you may as well may
Mm.
as well get into cleaning if you want to have a
Uh,
healthy older life. You have to be active throughout the day.
Yeah, I
I
don't know if I want to live that long though. Like at some point, like everybody you know is gonna die. You're gonna kind of get left behind. Is that? You know, I've been saying to some people. I think I mentioned
Mm.
this a couple of times as well. But just because you're alive doesn't mean you're living. You know.
Yeah.
mm,
But the whole point for being active isn't about living long enough. That's just a happy end result from that. But it's the fact that they want to live healthy. They want to prolong the healthy age, right? As opposed to living long, they just want to extend that healthy range of life.
Hmm.
So in order to do that, you'll have to be a maid. Who whose house
I
would you want to clean?
I also heard about stuff where people that live in mountainous regions, they also live longer, and I think the theory was that they move a lot, and because they live in a hilly and mountainous place, they also have to walk up a lot, and also apparently because the air there is thinner, they have a bit less of oxygen. It also helps.
Oxygen kills you guys. Stop breathing oxygen.
Lesson learned.
Yeah, pretty
Stop
much.
breathing. That is
Breathe
mad.
less.
Yeah, but it isn't it also because like in the mountainous region the temperatures usually lower as well, and then there are research in recent years that found that you age slower in colder areas.
Mm, I didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah, but then the problem is right. But then the problem is if you're old and you have joint problems, they tend to hurt a lot more in colder climate, cold and wet climate, which is why a lot of
Hey, who said it's going to be a pain-free life?
that's true. But you would do that, wouldn't you? Like if you're in your 60s, your joints are hurting, and just by moving to Asia, you're gonna stop hurting. Wouldn't you do it? Right? Like it's a
I would
if you
do it.
could, right? Like, you
uh,
want to end that suffering. So a lot of British people end up in the south of Spain.
okay. Hold on. Since we're talking about topics like this, like I've always had the idea where euthanasia is not illegal in Switzerland, right? And I'll be honest, like even if it is illegal, like who's gonna fucking stop me, right?
Wait.
But then, oh, if it's
Won't you get
illegal,
jailed?
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna put my rotting carcass in jail. Yeah.
I imagine a guy sitting in that cell as well, and it's like they put you in, like, so what are you sitting for? And you just answer
Anyway,
with flying flies.
yeah. Anyway, back to what I wanted to say. Like, I always had it. I always had this idea where the moment I stop being able to clean my own ass, I don't want to stick around anymore. First of all, I don't want to be a burden to my family or whatever living relatives that are looking after me at that point. I don't want to. What's the point of living if I can't see, I can't hear, and like I can't enjoy myself. So
yeah.
once I reach that status, or once I reach that point, I I don't want to stick around no more.
Mm.
How do you want to go?
And some people are a little uncomfortable with this idea, and I just want to hear what your guys' thoughts are.
Euthanasia?
Well,
Youth
just
in Asia.
youth in Asia. Yeah.
You want to have youths in Asia,
Yes. Youth in Europe.
youth in Europe.
But
No,
my
but
opinion is, first of
yeah.
all, I remember I saw a discussion here amongst politics,
Mhm.
because euthanasia is illegal here, and one of the politics were saying like a good point. They believe that it should be allowed, for starters, at least for people that are terminally ill and
Mhm.
no medicine can help them, and that they're also suffering, and the medicine
Mm.
can't stop their suffering. And and they made a point that these people, of course, after careful consideration and consultations, should have the choice to end their lives in a controlled and calm and comfortable manner. And I think that makes sense. I think if you're like in this such a horrible situation where you know you won't get better, you're suffering, and no medicine can help you end that suffering. Uh, I think it's just cruel to forcibly keep you alive. It's kind of like torture at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds a bit macabre, but like as what I said earlier, like who's gonna stop you
Well, the
if you really
thing is
want
with
to?
people that are in that situation, usually they won't be able to do it themselves because their health issue is preventing them to have an active life.
That is also true. Yeah.
So you're like
This is
you're
basically what's happening to my grandmother. She's far too weak to consent, even if euthanasia is legal in this country. She wouldn't be able to do it because she's not conscious all the time. Actually, she's just unconscious most of the time, and she just breathes. She gets fed. She gets flipped every now and then. And eventually her blood sugar gets too high, so she starts peeing blood and then gets rushed to the hospital. They clean her up and then she comes back. And basically she's been in this loop. It's basically where the family's already signed up saying, okay, we're not going to seek any further treatment on this, but we'll just keep her going. And it's something I
God
disagreed with
damn,
my,
man,
yeah, but
that's fucking torture,
it
bro.
is, and I've spoken to my parents about it, but basically it's up to my dad and his sister and his brother, so it's their decision, and they want to hold on to her for some reason. And I think it's because of guilt. It's because they didn't spend enough time with her when she was still conscious. I was there when she was still conscious, so she could actually engage in conversations and whatnot. But then eventually, it's crazy. Like it gets so bad where at this point of your life that the hospital's already said she is about to go anytime now, and they said that 2 years ago. She's still around, but she's still suffering. And it's so much money
Bruh,
as well.
and every moment I gain conscious, I'll be like, kill me.
Hmm. You know what? I don't think we even need to worry. Like, my opinion is that we'll have an app for euthanasia eventually. Eventually, if the world just like it's not even for just the old or suffering. Like, you will just have an app that allows for euthanasia. If you feel like you're done,
It's like
like
that suicide booth in Futurama, right?
yeah, exactly. That's what
yeah.
I was thinking as well.
My goodness,
Yeah.
it's really macabre. Uh, but in any case, we are at the 1.5 hour mark. Should we
Oh
conclude?
shit, already?
Why?
Yeah,
Holy shit.
time
I
flies.
didn't feel it.
It's a very pensive discussion today. Something you really need to like think hard about.
Yeah, we had a deep conversation.
All right, so
Mm.
I will do my blitz round. I feel like especially for people our age, like if you're a millennial, if you're a Gen Z, Gen Alpha, whatever, I really regret this that I didn't educate myself financially, because I always thought that there's no point. in doing that because I don't have the money to trade with, to gamble with, right? Like I don't have the assets to roll, so to speak. And that really, like, you really need to have this understanding, not because I want you to be able to gamble, but because I want you to just have this understanding of what's wrong with the system nowadays. So I highly recommend, there's this guy called Gary Stevenson. He's called Gary's Economics on YouTube. um
Mm.
uh, Careful though, he's got a very thick accent, but great points all around. I recommend that you get yourself acquainted with the system, understand why we are where we are today. And this is a fascinating thing to talk about because, like, if our prediction, well, his prediction for the future is that rich get richer, more powerful, and then the housing costs go up, and then the bottom 99% suffers. So if that is the future, what would you bet on? Like, what would you devote your career into? What would you do? Right? Like, what would you want to? What kind of job would you want to take, for example? Anyway, yeah, that's it.
Hmm. I guess I'll do my blitz. Uh, a lot of thoughts I had while Jimmy, we were talking, answering your question. I was always kind of inclined to do something in real estate because designing my own house and stuff like that sounded interesting. And lately, I start to think a lot more that I should buy some land and I should own stuff because I feel like these things will, on in the long run, will keep their value. And that's yeah, that's and keep their value, and I want to do it as well. Uh, about freedom of speech, as I said, I feel like it's really important that even about everything actually, we should touch grass more. Sorry.
We should. Benny.
Well, I think it's a very difficult subject, and there is no right or wrong. Like, of course, it's all very gray, because
About
it's all
freedom of
based on
speech.
individualism, isn't it? Like, what's right for one person might not be right for the other person,
Yeah.
and you can't as a person say like, oh, you're wrong for thinking that way, because that's just not how it works. So I think it just has to be, as unfortunate as it sounds, like, it just has to be a way that the majority will just have to accept on one thing, and then they as a majority or as a society have to just walk forward with that decision. In my personal opinion, but then again, it's also just a personal opinion. It's not what's right, nor is it what's wrong. It's just an opinion, and at the end of the day, it's a social experiment, I guess. We are, and we're all just part of it.
Are you pessimistic like me? Do you feel like this experiment is falling apart?
I don't I if I'm to be honest, I don't have a very optimistic outlook of the future. But then again, what does it matter? I just have to
Mm,
make sure. I just have to make sure that I'm gonna be as okay as possible, and
yeah.
that all the people that I care about are gonna be as okay as possible. Everything else is beyond me. So if it's beyond me, thinking about it every once in a while is fine, but letting it affect my daily life, letting it affect my mental state to the point where I can't function anymore is a lost cause fallacy. It's unreasonable, and I don't personally think that I can recommend that path, because it seems like a path to ruin, and
Yeah.
there is nothing that will you will get from it.
I have our survival strategy. So in the grim future, where you either cater to the very very rich or you cater to the absolute poorest of people, well, catering to the poor is going to be impossible because you'll basically need to be Walmart or Costco. You need that means of production. So people like me, you, and Dan. Dan should build houses. I should decorate luxury housing with Unreal Engine. Sell interior design that's very expensive. And Bernard, you should be a masculinity coach for for rich people's children. teach them to be.
Oh, you know what we should do?
Yeah.
We should among us decide who's the most fair and who's gonna be the one who actually won't fuck us over. Amass our resources, have that person be rich, well, because the rich is gonna get richer, and then have that rich person look after us.
Well, you don't even have to do that. You can just pull resources together. And if you have enough resources to use that money to make more money, then at that point, you can just co own that stuff, right? Like it could be in, again, real estate, bonds, in securities, land, what have you, like assets that are real, right? Like you could just co own it and then use that to, yeah.
Yeah, but I would say the problem about co-owning stuff is that you lose time in making decision because you want to make sure like everybody's on board with that decision. And sometimes some decisions are time critical, right? Like you
Yeah.
have to make one now, or you lose that opportunity. And yeah,
Then I recommend you. I feel like
why me? I think out of all of us, you're the most financially the guy who did the most research, no?
I recommend myself. Give me your money.
Yeah.
Wait. I recommend me because I get taxed the lowest. Did you?
Oh, that's a good one too. That's a good one too.
Yeah. Did you
Maybe
know
But
even the most
you have the
important.
most unsecure future about from all of us, though.
that? Not really. I
Ay.
have a family company to inherit if I want to.
Yeah, but if China invades Taiwan, then
Oh,
there
that's
might
true.
not be much left.
It's all right. My factories are in China, so but it's my family
Ah.
stuff.
Jimmy is prepared.
Yeah, but hopefully, you should become if you become an independent worker, you create content either as a digital nomad, you work for somebody as a content creator or something, like as a freelance person, you should move to Georgia because apparently Georgia has a 1% tax for, content creators. So YouTubers, or if you make designs,
Nice.
or if you're a
Drink
programmer.
wine and visit mountains.
Yeah. And make Russian friends.
Yes.
um, um, why can't we just like get a building? Like we don't have to move there. We just can say like we purchase something and then say we are located there, right? We are working out of there. Just like offshore employees or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we could be
Hmm.
close enough, it would be really cool if we can have like a property that three of us own, and it's kind of like, so this is the best case scenario. Like if we can afford that, so we'll have basically a safe house. So no matter what happens in your life, if anything terrible happens, you'll always have a bottom line. There's always a place for you. That kind of, so financial security. That would be cool.
You know what? Something just popped in my mind, which I keep thinking about, but I never gotten around to doing it. I keep thinking about in a disaster scenario, right? In the case where communications are destroyed, where communication lines are abolished, do you have like a rendezvous point like planned out for your family? Do you have like a disaster scenario established, like, hey, if this happens and connection drops, like rendezvous here or something like that?
Oh, I don't, but that's a good idea to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have nothing
because you
planned.
never know. Yeah, like it might be a natural disaster, it might be something, but like I keep thinking about it. I keep wanting to talk to my family about it because it sounds macabre, but once already, like we had the discussion, like what do you want to do? What do you want us to do with your remains after you pass? Like at the end of the day, we oh shit, this is supposed to be a blitz.
Yeah.
But yeah, we decided like uh everybody just wants to be cremated and have the ash tossed into the ocean because that's like the most cheapest way to do it. And nobody really cares about what happens to the body like after they passed. Um
But
honestly,
But having like a rendezvous point for an apocalyptic future scenario, what if
it
communications
doesn't
are?
have to be apocalyptic. It's just
Okay, so
Like in case of any scenario where connection is broken.
so if connection is broken and we agree to rendezvous at England, and then England gets invaded and gets nuked, what do we do?
That's why you have alternative options. You don't just
Ah,
have the one.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing to talk about next time. Like, we should have a podcast episode about contingency plans.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. All right.
Yeah,
Well, I
definitely.
guess that sums up for today. Thank you guys for listening in, and be sure to check us out on Patreon or Spotify or what have you. And yeah, goodbye.
Yeah.
Have a good day,
Goodbye. Thank you,
everybody,
everyone.
or a good week.